over the past couple of years, PlayStation has not been in the best of positions. I mean, even recently we found out Square Enix was done with PlayStation exclusivity after working with them for years, and of course we know that consumers have not been happy with a lot of their decisions to force PlayStation Network account requirements onto PC games, but now we're finding out the two new co-CEOs who are succeeding Jim Ryan, and nothing is going to change at this company. I have a few things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, Jim Ryan did not do a great job at PlayStation. He is a name that people visibly cringe at when they hear within the gaming sphere. I mean, gamers did not like him. We also heard that he was very difficult to work with on the developer side of things, but now PlayStation has named the two new CEOs, so Sony will be replacing the former PlayStation boss Jim Ryan with two CEOs, Hideaki Nishino and Herman Hulse, the company announced. It says effective June 1st, 2024, Hideaki Nishino will be the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment's Platform Business Group, and Herman Hulse will be the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment Studio Business Group, as revealed in a press release today. Now, obviously, this is a very interesting move by them because we don't hear a lot about co-CEOs, but it seems that people's hatred for Jim Ryan has led to a lot of mistrust within the gaming industry, and maybe Sony in totality was thinking, you know what, let's go with two, because basically if one fucks up beyond belief and people end up not liking the decisions that he's making, and if them as a company, they do not like the decisions that they're making, one could be ousted, and then they don't really have to worry about, you know, replacing them right off the bat, because, of course, you're already going to have one who can just step up and take on all of the responsibility until they either find another co-CEO or they're just going to run Sony Interactive Entertainment solo. It says, though, that, of course, Hiroki Totoki has been serving as interim CEO in the wake of Ryan's retirement and will serve as chairman of SIE in addition to his role as president, COO, and CFO of Sony Group Corporation. And they will both actually report to Hiroki, so it does not seem like they are going to have the level of control that Jim Ryan ended up having. And of course, Jim Ryan was not the end-all be-all to Sony Interactive Entertainment, because he did, yes, still have to report to the people at Sony Group Corporation, but at the same time, he was the one who was making a lot of the decisions regarding what projects went through and were greenlit, the budgets that new games were going to have, and, you know, a lot having to do with this company. Now, obviously, I do not like Sony, and Sony has done a lot over the past couple of years to push away a lot of customers, and I do not think that this is going to change Sony for the better. These are two jackasses that have been part of the problem the whole time. They've both been with Sony for over a decade at this point, doing various things, working their way up the food chain, and I do not think that they are going to magically change what is going on at the company, things that we do not like. There are a ton of different things that I personally don't think that they are going to fix, and I will show my list in a minute, but they would have to work for years and years and years to gain the trust back of some of the customers that they have pushed away over the past couple of years. It says, of course, as the senior vice president of the Platform Experience Group, Nishino is already embedded in PlayStation's hardware and tech operations, and in his new role, Sony says he will continue to be responsible for technology, products, services, and platform experience, including sales and marketing of hardware, services, and peripherals, peripherals, and Hulst, meanwhile, is currently the senior vice president and head of PlayStation Studios. So in addition to, developing content across PlayStation consoles and PCs, he's helped oversee the growth of PlayStation IPs across film and TV. So he was the one who worked with HBO to greenlight something like Naughty Dog's The Last of Us, also Twisted Metal. So he definitely has had some wins under his belt. Both of these men have, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, they would have to work for years to be able to make Sony a beloved and trusted name again. But recently we had the whole entire Helldivers 2 fiasco that happened, and it was great to see that Helldivers 2, the PC version, escaped the PlayStation Network account requirements, but there are other games that are facing that, like Ghost of Tsushima. For the Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, you need a PlayStation Network account requirement on PC, which sucks to see. Ghost of Tsushima is one of my favorite games of all time, and I think that it was fantastic that it was coming to PC, but unfortunately, yes, for the multiplayer, you do need a PSN account, and even though many of us have that and many people are okay with simply creating it, it's the requirement that is the problem, because it was not talked about before release and it was not highlighted to consumers, and it makes us really not trust them. But also, there are a slew of other problems with PlayStation. This is just a very short list of a few examples that I had put up, about a week and a half ago when the Helldiver situation was going on. Here are just a few little things that I'd love to see them sort out. First and foremost, the Stellar Blade censorship. This was such a disappointing situation to see. So many of us were extremely excited about this game, and it really was fantastic, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, to force the developers to censor the game before release and having, images in the game itself and like tutorials showing the uncensored costumes, but you can't actually access them, was a completely crappy thing to do. And I wish that they would at least address this and actually talk about it and maybe even apologize, God forbid, right? It says, of course, PlayStation wants to split games into multiple purchases totaling $150. We've heard about this for a very long time, that down the line they would love to pull another Final Fantasy remake situation where they can take one older game and split it into 3 parts and then make hundreds of dollars off of customers. Of course, Sony slammed by indie devs over insane fees, terrible policies, and bad communication. PlayStation accounts were being randomly banned by Sony, and they didn't care. They did not address this at all whatsoever. Then we have the slew of censorship. Censorship ripple effect killed Lisa Definitive Edition. Cult Classic altered due to Sony. Graphic content removed from Martha is Dead on PlayStation due to Sony demands. Forced developers to censor and change 20 ladies game to 20 bunnies. Doki Doki Literature Club censored as Sony gets stricter with anime violence. P-Cube forced to censor Alice Gear Aegis CS on PlayStation. Then we have, of course, their new moderator plans, where they had let players record party chats for what they claimed moderation purposes, and even though players could not access them, they still existed. And of course, we have them patenting all of these different forms of, how do you say it? Like AI tools, I guess? Sony patents to prevent you from in-game harassment by reading your emotions. I mean, we are talking about so many ridiculous things, and will they ever sit down and address all of these? Probably not, but Sony would have to fix all of these things and address all of these things and walk back on their stances regarding animated violence and sexual content in order to gain my full trust back, and I just don't see that happening. Now, of course, there is a tiny chance that they could, magically change internally, but I just highly doubt it. Everything with PlayStation is either going to be the same or even worse, and that is the problem. So many people own these $500 consoles, and yet you still cannot fully put your trust into Sony. So Obviously, there's a lot of information I'm sure that's going to come out over the next few weeks, maybe detailing more of their plans for the future and outlines regarding what they would like to do at the company. We also do not know at this point in time how long they plan to be around for. One would assume it's for years and years to come. But I will be keeping my eye on these two to see if they start making any big changes or there are any, pieces of information that are put out there that they're trying to very quietly slip past customers, maybe policy changes and whatnot. Only time will tell, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.